Hello, and welcome to the Zero Waste Life Hack Podcast, the podcast that explores the world of waste and the role that we play in solving some of the world's biggest problems, except we address one simple solution at a time.
Yep.
I am Sophia Ratkovich, founder of Zero Waste Co., and this week I am joined by DJ extraordinaire, Michelle Sinclair.
Hello.
Hi, Michelle.
Thank you for having me back as your ride or die passenger in this journey of discovering zero waste life hacking.
This wild trip we're taking here on the planet.
Yep.
Well, today's episode is going to be specifically about single-use plastic water bottles.
Yep, that's a big one.
But we're also going to talk about some facts, right? So we're going to think about water overall, the way that we consume it, some ways that we could be more conscious with how we drink water.
Right, because we didn't always have plastic bottles.
We didn't.
No.
7-Elevens only came into existence recently, as did gas stations.
Yep.
So we'll talk about some solutions to address the single-use plastic water
The facts.
bottle pollution.
And then the hacks.
And the hacks.
Well, I'm looking forward to today's podcast because I think I was looking forward to just getting facts about plastic water bottles and then sharing our hacks. But also when you were saying the relationship with water and how we drink it, it's interesting because, yeah, I literally in my mind am raised on the fact that you go buy a plastic water bottle and drink it.
Totally. But then think about how many people in the world don't have that same privilege, right? To be able to go to a store and pick water bottle
Or the fact
types.
that, like, I don't want that to be my relationship with water anymore.
You're done. You're done.
I'm done.
It's bad. Well, there's so much to talk about. I'm so excited.
All right. Well, let's take this break and get into it.
Let's do it.
Becoming a zero waste life hacker is an easy way to save money and help the planet. The first step is to be more aware of how your daily habits over time can have a huge positive impact on our environment. It is simple. Visit zerowasteco.com to find resources, inspirations, and help on becoming a zero waste life hacker. We are only one act away from a greener today.
This has been a public service announcement by Zero Waste Company. So here's what I wanted to talk about first is, yes, single-use plastic water bottles, but really just about water, fresh water, right? So
Fresh water.
when you look at our planet, Earth, from outer space, it's
beautiful.
It's beautiful. Mostly blue,
Mostly blue.
because most of it is covered in water. But most of that is ocean water, salt water,
Right.
which we can't drink. So the amount of water that is accessible for us to drink is only 1/10 of 1% of fresh water available.
1/10 of 1%.
Tiny, tiny, tiny percent. So 2/3 of the planet is covered in water, but only 0.02% of that is drinking water. That's found in streams, in rivers, in lakes, and a lot of water even, that's been deposited in reservoirs. A lot of that has been sucked up and dried up already. So it's a resource that we don't really think about until you don't have it, right?
Ugh.
Until you're really thirsty. Like,
Jeez.
But it's the most important one.
Yeah. I mean, what's the percentage that's like our body's made up of water? I mean, we are also, like the planet, mostly water.
Totally.
Which is interesting.
70%,
Yeah,
something like that.
We're totally making that. But I know that we're mostly
A
water.
lot. We are mostly water and stardust, are we not?
Ooh, just like the planet.
Totally magical. And with climate change being such a hot topic.
Good one.
Yeah, well, the snow levels are decreasing, snow caps are melting, glaciers are melting. So there's even less and less water that is accessible to us, right? Some places are experiencing drought. In some places, the water is rising. So really, this whole topic of water is connected. We're not just talking about like the consumer aspect of alkaline, and do we want water from Fiji? Do we want one that makes you smarter? Whatever. It's really connected to this whole other big issue of how do we protect this really important resource that we depend on as humans.
It's not just a fashion accessory
or
a marketing brand.
No.
It's water. It's life.
We rely on it.
Yeah.
So think about it. Our studio here, we're in Culver City, right?
Yeah.
We're going to take Santa Monica as an example because that's pretty much where I've gathered all the facts. But even just to get the water here, it travels about 400 miles. We get it from up north, from streams and lakes and rivers up there. But we still think that water is not good enough, right? Like, we don't trust it. We're scared. We think it's poisoned. It's got metals and all this other stuff.
Right.
So we go out and then buy water that is really just tap water that's being sold back to us in fancy packaging.
Right.
Is that not crazy?
Right. So I actually did a little research of myself and to prepare for this podcast and learned that like each bottled water, whether it's bottled in plastic or glass, has all different kinds of standards to meet. Some of it totally is just literally
tap water.
Yeah. Coming from Fiji or whatever.
Yep.
And you're just buying Fiji. Like, I think Fiji was the example they used in this article, which we'll repost in our blog. Fiji tap water. So you're just buying crazy. Fiji tap water as opposed to whatever.
Yeah, water from LA.
Yeah, or from some other mountain. But yeah.
So, well, and you think about how many of those bottles you use, right? Per household or per outing. Out of all these bottles that people consume, which are billions on a daily basis, here in the United States, only 1 out of 5 are actually recycled.
See, that's the other crazy fact to me about plastic.
Right?
Is out of all the plastic water bottles, I mean, we're focusing on water bottles, but if you walk into your local 7-Eleven or your local kind of convenience shop, almost every bottle of drink is plastic. So,
except for the overpriced ones that are glass.
Right, or alcohol.
Right. Yes.
But yeah, it's actually amazing how much of that does not get recycled, period.
Doesn't get recycled, doesn't get tested, less regulated, like you said. All these different water bottle brands that we see in the store, none of those are tested as much as the water that's coming out of our tap, which is, again, like where it just boggles my mind, because we talked about this before, right? If you ever drive into a store, like a supermarket parking lot, you see pallets and pallets of water that is just sitting out there all day in 100-degree weather. You know what I mean? Like, now an article came out saying, or research has come out saying, that there's even microfiber pieces of plastic that are found in the water bottles. So it's even the most pristine thing that we think.
Right. So if you're thinking, well, a company is taking this time to package the water bottle, and then it's getting shipped across the country, across the world to make it to us, and then it goes to your local restaurant, your local, wherever you're at, they might store it behind the building, not even in temperature. Like, you don't know, like those in between delivery places could be anywhere.
And something that, apart from knowing that, plastic sucks because it ends up in the ocean, the thing that we have to remember again is that we are packaging this really pristine source, right? Like, this thing is like super pure. It's not like Cheetos. It's like water. We're packaging it in a petroleum-based product, right? So even the process of getting that water bottle to the store and to our birthday party or whatever, that's insane. We're extracting oil to produce a container that it comes in. More water is needed for that whole process and trucking and packaging and transporting than the water that's even in it. So just the whole footprint of it to me is... I gave up buying single-use water bottles years ago, and it's one of those things that has saved me so much money, but also I just can't see myself ever going back to depending on that, unless there was like some crazy...
a need for it. In some way,
like emergency situation or something,
but some kind of
that's crazy. And because they are made from petroleum, they take forever to decompose, right? If you're not recycling them, which most people don't do. Most people will throw them away in the trash and assume that it's going to get recycled, right? When it goes to the facility, it's just going to get pulled out. But did you know that that's not true, Michelle?
Oh, no.
That recycling companies only, or haulers will only sometimes pull it out of the recycling waste. They won't sort through the trash.
Right.
So
that's an important thing to think about as well, is that, like, if you want to put it in your trash that's going to go to the landfill, it'll never come out of that bag for thousands and thousands of years. But if you put it in the recycling, at least it'll get sorted through and then distributed to the proper recycling. Because that's something else we don't think about with some of these, which we touched on episode 2, is the recycling numbers and how
the market value for these different types of plastics.
Right.
I mean, so just because something is recyclable, right? So the type of plastic that water bottles are generally made out of are, number one, PET. Even though they can technically be recycled, they don't get recycled because there are so many of them. The infrastructure isn't there. You know what I mean? So there's just so much to talk about with this. But overall, too, just the amount of time that it takes them to break down when they don't get recycled. If they end up in the landfill or they end up in the ocean, it could be anywhere from like 400 to 1,000 years. This is longer than any of us have even been on
here.
Yeah, to record this type of information. And the one thing that we were talking about was, think about back in the old days. any era in the old days. Like Egyptian pharaohs.
Right. Or maybe not even that long ago. Like 100, 200 years ago.
Western settlers, people coming across, on ships. How did they drink water?
Not in a plastic bottle. I mean, people could argue like, oh, it wasn't as safe back then. It wasn't tested as much. It wasn't, people died drinking water. But
True.
They could argue this.
Good argument.
But
could be poison.
I think when you go back to your relationship with water, as you're pointing out, as a theme in this episode, the relationship with water was really important because it was life and they knew they would die without it. And so you were talking about ancient Egypt or in that era. I mean, your whole day might be about going to find water that was drinkable and bringing it back to be able to have your family drink it.
And that was the water that you used to drink? Yeah, you said to
settlements,
wash clothes,
your life
to cook.
would be based around that. Where now we can live wherever and expect that it's going to come out of our tap, or we can buy it in a plastic bottle.
Or you just get it delivered, right?
You get it delivered or whatever. So it's like, yeah, your relationship to water. I like the idea of rethinking it.
So let's talk now about what else makes it bad, right? So we went back and mentioned about how they're made from petroleum.
Right.
So many times when I do presentations to schools and I'll ask kids, like, what's plastic made out of? They're like,
plastic.
Yeah.
It's not made from plastic?
Trees? It's like, no, petroleum, right? Like that nasty, dirty substance that we're literally still waging wars for to get access to more of, right? For these cheap things that we only use for a few seconds.
Right.
So this is, I guess, where like my battle comes in with plastic, or why I find it so connected, or the main culprit in like this problem with waste, right? Is because of the extreme lengths that we have to go to access it, and then what it's used for. It's like just a few minutes. And so you probably know from the multitudes of parties that you've been to.
Yeah.
How many people actually finish the water in a water bottle when they get it at a party?
Like you go to a party, unless it's like a fancy party.
Of course.
They're serving everything in glass bottles with the server that's pouring the glass for you. You're going to average go to a party or an event, and it's just going to be, or a festival. Festivals are great examples. And people don't finish their drink, whether it's water or whatever it is. So, and by picking up after the people at these events.
So let me tell you,
collecting.
I did this one event day long, and they were selling water bottles at the event. And so when I went through, people were responsible enough to put them into the recycling bin, which is great. And they also had to let, the cap close, which is great too. But when I went through and collected all these water bottles, it was probably for like 300 people in one day, I had 4 gallons of water that was just from little water bottles that had not been finished.
So when
Like
you
half
sort
used.
through, you're the first source of sorting through before you take it to the trash. Are you taking the water out? Like, how did you know there was...
Yeah, I have
so-
to empty that
Oh, you have
because,
to empty it.
that's weight, that's liquid, that can get
And you're getting
paper
charged by
dirty.
weight when you turn in the recycling. So your client is going to pay for that. So you're
Of
dumping
course.
out the water or the unused liquid, and you find that like people are,
They're
it's
not
interesting.
drinking
Oh, wow.
it.
See, that's another level. I'm not
Like-
even like realizing of waste on this topic alone.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then depending on where you're doing the cleanup for a party, right? You might empty these little water bottles straight into your sink. So think about like how far that water traveled, how
Oh my
the
God.
process of like getting the plastic only for you to be like, I don't like this flavor, or it's too warm, and then you just leave it and dump it out. Like, it's
into the
insane.
sink, and then it's traveling. Yeah.
So can we
Ay,
just
ay,
jump ahead with one little tip here?
Oh gosh. Oh yeah.
Please.
One little hack coming at you.
Yes. If this happens to you and you host a party and you find all these little water bottles around, at least dump it in the plants. Like, don't
Yeah.
dump it directly into the sink. That's just, I mean,
It's almost it should be counterintuitive.
I was going to say a mortal sin,
immortal sin. Dun, dun, dun.
punishable by eternity in not a good place.
Just start a new religion. Can we start our own version of religion that's the mortal sin? Dun, dun, dun. Just kidding.
But I feel like this whole zero waste movement
Right.
is it's not necessarily a religion, but it is kind of an awakening, right? People are starting to find the value in certain things, and I think to me it's switching the value over from like all this material stuff and like, oh, I can buy that, oh, I'm so much better because I have, I thought we were gonna bag companies, but like Avion or Fiji or
Right.
like
Well, Avion does make glass bottles.
they do, and they make those little Mr.
And the-
sprays.
But then you have to
Which are
order it has to get
amazing.
delivered to you. But in my little like search around the internet to like make myself know some facts,
Tell me.
I found that 300 million tons of plastic is produced globally each year. And when you think about what made me go look for that fact was the pictures that you
Yeah.
see of all the plastic stacks of plastic bottles everywhere. So
Mountains.
it's the mountains of plastic
Yep.
bottles and how you're just not recycling all that plastic that's getting produced globally.
And just the
each
amount
year.
of time that we use them for, like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
To me, it makes sense to, a speaker is going to last you 10 years. An MRI machine is going to last
Right.
years. But these things we're using for just a few minutes,
Mm-hmm.
but they're here forever. So I really want people to, like, become aware of that and see how ridiculous it is and how we've pretty much been conned, right? Like, we've been, like, tricked and lied
Marketed,
to.
branded, and fashionable accessorized
It's
by the water bottle.
Totally, right? Like, I feel scared sometimes, like, because I drink tap water all the time, and I'm like, ooh, am I gonna die? Like, am I getting all this cryptosporidium building up
man.
inside my system? What is happening?
Well,
But it's worth it.
should we get into some hacks?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's take a little musical interlude by our featured artist of the day, Dylan, and we'll be back after this music break.
Try to get me, knew that I would. I try to get me, knew that I would.
And we are back. Ready to talk
Ready.
trash.
Fired up and ready to go. I feel like I like this one because out of all the topics that we're going to broach during this podcast season, water bottles and plastic bottles, I think, is the one that I've started with. Besides plastic bags, it's already something I've integrated into my life.
Yep.
So I have some hacks for this,
Well,
and I'm excited. Let's share them.
Well, and apart from it being like a hack, so it being that, yes, we're preserving resources, keeping stuff out of the ocean. Also, this is like the best thing that we could do for our health, right? Because it's something that we do consume so regularly. Like, putting your groceries in a plastic bag, like vegetables aren't good. They're going to be okay. But water and liquids and things that we drink, like all the phthalates that are contained in the plastic, like that stuff leaches into our system. So as far as like what we could do to improve, make sure that we keep all these carcinogens out, like this is the best thing that we could possibly do. But so first life hack would be
get yourself a reusable water bottle.
Now, Michelle,
Yes.
not everybody has $18 to $22 to spend on a fancy gold water
Like
bottle.
Mine was actually a gift.
Well, lucky you, Michelle.
I know.
But let's do it like, okay, just to start, right? You want to go zero waste. You don't want to spend a lot of money. The best way to do it is literally wait till that mayonnaise jar, and I say mayonnaise jar because it is the perfect size.
Ooh. And everyone has mayonnaise.
Everybody at some point. So the mayonnaise jar, like wait till that finishes, you finish with it, wash it out, and you've got yourself a mason jar, a little jar there, or a salsa jar, or
and then your water bottle or your pickle jar.
pickle jar. That'd be giant. My pickles are big.
No pun intended.
Do you have little pickle? Like a little pickle jar?
I don't know. I mean, mayonnaise jars are pretty big though too.
Oh, mine is little.
You have a little one.
Mine's
Yeah.
are-
Oh, I
yeah,
see what you're talking about. Okay, your
Or
little...
like the bon maman,
Uh-huh.
that jelly, that French jelly that I
Ooh.
love. It's got like the red and white label. But those are great because it's so much easier to keep clean. They're going to have a wider mouth, right? So they're easier to wash with the sponge. Whereas once you have a water bottle, you have to invest into a little brush to clean it, right?
I feel you on that because my water bottle is also got it's got a lip at the bottom, and if I leave it in there too long, I'm like, ooh, it smells in there, and I've got to properly clean it. But yeah.
So the way to do it
jars
without spending any money would be really just to reuse any glass bottle that you have.
for condiments, yeah, love it.
That's a
Love it. I mean, someone else pointed out that if you have a water bottle that's plastic that you've bought, try to reuse that again as much as possible until you recycle it.
Yes and no. Some, because it's so thin, that type of plastic starts breaking down really fast, a lot faster than would a cheap one that you got as a gift, for whatever. You know how
Yeah.
people are always also giving away water
Right.
bottles now? Like they're not
with
single
their logo
use.
on it or whatever.
So those would generally last a lot longer than the flimsy ones that we buy, the clear ones, just because the plastic is thicker. So,
Yeah.
but
But I like your life hack better because you're already using something that's already in your fridge. You don't have to
Exactly.
buy anything new. Bam.
But if
Water
we
bottle.
already have a water bottle, which again, we've all at some point, I'm not perfect. I've snagged a water bottle on my
Yeah.
way out the door at one point, but you could also repurpose them.
Repurpose them. Ooh. On to number 2.
Crafts and hacks.
Crafts and hacks. Repurpose them. So great. Like you can use them to store stuff on your desk. Reuse them for condiments in your fridge.
Mm-hmm.
Cut them
What
apart.
else did we see? You can
Cut-
make a broom out of them.
Yeah. Poop scoop. Well, I saw that on this.
I know.
We'll share the lady's link in our podcast, but she took a large milk carton and cut it out to make, well, maybe
With
not a
the
poop
handle?
scoop, but she made a scooping handle.
I think she was doing some gardening. Perhaps it was intended for soil, but maybe the song from
Yeah.
last week's podcast was still
Yep.
playing in here.
Yep, it was.
Totally. But
but yeah.
Pinterest, I mean, you could totally go on Pinterest and just find so many creative ways.
Because, well, this takes us
Artist-
outside of the topic of it just being a water bottle. Cause
Exactly.
every bottle container that I use in my kitchen or cleaning is all plastic bottles as well. So she shows all these things for reusing. That she turned something into a sand toys for the beach,
saw
and your
that.
favorite,
I saw that.
Sophia's favorite, which you might see the next time Sophia is hired to do a zero waste.
Oh, the trash can.
The trash cans
Oh
made
my
from
gosh.
water bottles.
Yes, and I've also seen schools. So, yes, I love how people are just, I mean, with every problem that there is, I know of a few solutions, but there are just so many things that people have thought of that I've never even imagined. I saw this school in Guatemala that basically had a really big litter problem with all these candy wrappers and chip wrappers and things like that. So because they had so many water bottles and all of these types of things, what they ended up doing is they collected all the trash that they found around the neighborhood in this area, put them inside the water bottles, and then use those as building blocks. So it'd be like the water bottle full of stuff, cement, more water bottles, cement.
See, there you go.
It'll be on. You can see the picture
That's the next
on the website.
architectural movement, maybe.
Dude, that's a whole nother level of like repurposing that. Again, I was thinking pencil cases or little plants to go home, but there's just so many ways to repurpose these.
My other new favorite life hack on this, number 3, would be
what?
the refill apps.
Oh, yeah.
If you're tech savvy and you have
Yes.
a phone, I'm just discovering this. I can't believe I didn't know this. I'm like, is the little app that tells you where you can fill up your bottle. And it's kind of like Waze. Like the more people that use it and are like, oh, I found a new one, and you like plug it in.
We tap, yep.
WeTap or
Well-
something like that. It's great.
It's interesting. I thought about it too. I don't remember buying plastic water bottles when I was like younger,
Right.
way, way younger. But I do remember there being water fountains
Everywhere.
all over the place.
Yeah.
And I feel like for a while, maybe the water bottle companies had more influence because they were putting their vending machines into a place. And so water fountains were getting shut down. But really, there's so many buildings out there that still have them. They're just turned off. So maybe we can get people to really be more, more activists in their community and more outspoken and say like, hey, we want those water fountains turned on, and get out there and, write a letter and find them and really make sure that they are operational, because no kid should have to worry about whether their parents forgot to pack them a water bottle or not. Plastic, one or a clean canteen or an expensive one. They shouldn't have to worry about that. They should be able to just drink water as when they're thirsty. And so, again, something that we have in this country, which we're very grateful for. Again, that's not the situation everywhere else. But as far as here, come on, we should all have access to safe drinking water at this point. We should.
We should. Of course, I think that I would like to just, on that note, refer to episode 2 with your lovely guest,
Jessica Aldridge.
Yes, and she did bring up the topic that sometimes you need to have bottled water shipped in the cases such as Flint, Michigan,
Of course.
where they don't have access to clean water. And again, that's an issue where you're saying reach out and say and demand it. We demand clean water. We demand access to water. There's no need for us to buy it.
No.
Like on that level, right?
And again, if all this oil, for instance, is being subsidized to create all these products that are used for such a short amount of time, shouldn't that money be spent to really work on our infrastructure, to really fix our, the way people are able to access water? I think that's kind of where we need to go back and really prioritize what's important to us. So we need to fix the water infrastructure in this country. Bring back the tap.
Bring back
the water fountain so people don't feel like they have to buy all these things that they don't need. Right.
Well, I think lastly, another important topic or hack would be recycle. It sounds simple. It seems like it'd be drained into us. But what I learned from this podcast and also from trying to get some facts on the water bottle was that it's not being recycled.
No, you got to put it in the blue bin. You have to.
Yeah, not the street.
Or if you, for instance, say you have a big party. I don't know why I keep saying parties. It could be like a conference,
Right.
school walkathon, whatever it is. But if you have a big gathering where you have to purchase a lot of these things, just put them in a separate bag and put them next to the dumpster, because chances are somebody's going to go through and dig for that. That's money. It has value.
It is a form of currency for some people. Yeah.
Totally. So just be nice. Do something nice.
And just separate it
Just
ahead of
separate it
time.
for somebody else who is going to recycle it.
Cool.
So.
I like it. Got some hacks. Got some facts.
And there's way more where that came from. There's so many amazing documentaries that I've watched recently. Tapped Blue Gold, The Story of Bottled Water by The Story of Stuff. All those, definitely go and watch them because I think you'll really value the way you're spending your money.
And possibly change your relationship to water.
Possibly. That's the goal, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, let's take a little sponsor break and hear more from our featured artist of the day, Dylan. And then we'll wrap up this episode with some resources and fun places where you can learn more and be part of the community.
Yes, and again, reduce, reuse, recycle, but first, refuse. So just don't buy that water bottle at all.
Don't buy it.
Don't do
Just
it.
say no. Hot Mobile Disco is proud to be an official sponsor of the Zero Waste Life Hack podcast. This podcast believes that not only is working towards a zero waste future good for your soul, but so is music. If you like what you've heard on today's episode, please visit www.hutmobiledisco, that's HAUTE mobiledisco.com, and click on the tag Zero Waste Life Hacker. There you will find artists' name and the song titles, as well as other music featured on this podcast.
All right, so we want you to join in on this conversation. Share with us your zero waste life hacks for reusable water bottles.
Yep.
And remember to use the hashtag Zero Waste Life Hacks. And we will be sharing some of our favorite stories on our Instagram page.
Yeah. So you can also follow on Instagram. You can follow hashtags. So you can follow a hashtag.
Oh.
Yeah.
Related stories.
Yeah. So we're going to be using hashtag Zero Waste Life Hacks. If you follow that and post your life hacks, you'll join in the conversation, start the community with us. And like Sophia said, she's going to pick some of her favorite ones and repost it on her story.
Yes. And you can also visit zerowastecode.com and find the blog post that has the same title as this podcast. We'll share more information there, some videos you can watch, lots of useful links and videos, and
other things related to this topic.
Very much
this
so.
Episode.
Thank you for joining us. And again, this is Sophia.
And I'm Michelle.
And we're reminding you that, yes, it's great to reduce, reuse, and
recycle.
But you got to also refuse.
Refuse.
Just start making better choices.
Just say no.
Yes. So in this time, let's just try to say no to plastic water bottles.
Okay.
Just start there.
Try it for at least maybe a week.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
See what happens. And report back.
Until next time.
Thank you.